Hi there, and either welcome back or welcome to the channel. Um, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the hardest part about giving up alcohol when you're a grey area drinker. And I promise you, it's probably not what you think it is. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Jules Rutherford. I'm a coach, and for the last 5 years, I've been working with older women like me who are grey area drinkers and who want to stop. Very often when I start talking to women about their desire to give up and what's stopping them from kind of making that today decision, it's often some very common themes, such as fears. They've got fears around failure because they may have stopped a few times in the past and failed over and over and over again. There might be fears around being bored, because if you've ever calculated how much time you spend on alcohol, it's often close to a full-time job in hours, in terms of hours. There's also fears around that that women think they're boring, that they will be boring to other people when they're not drinking. And my answer to that is, sweetheart, like, drinking and it's really, really boring. And if you ever, and I would encourage you to go and socialize with a bunch of drinkers. And I'm not saying that these people are boring, but the drinking experience it's very repetitive. You know, people tell the same stories. The narratives are very, very samey, and it's really boring. Um, and I've never met a woman yet who isn't really fascinating and interesting in some way, shape, or form. There are also very often fears around relationships, like, you know, your friend group, and how, or what you're going to do when you can't meet up for a drink. Um, my answer to that very quickly would be, I promise you, the people who truly love you will still love you regardless of what liquid you put in your body. There are also fears around family dynamics because very often if you're in a drinking family, it can feel a little bit scary to kind of break that drinking bond that you have with them, and the fear of the judgment that comes with that. There can also be real fears around your significant other, your partner, and how you might be being pressured to give up. You might feel the pressure of wanting to give up because of the guilt and the shame of the things that you do when you've been drinking that you wouldn't do in, in normal times. I was speaking to a woman recently who was clearly lovely, lovely lady, but ended up having arguments with her partner all the time when she was drinking, and it's just not her. There's Around relationships, there can also be fears around whether you think your partner is somebody you won't want to be with anymore. You might not like them. And equally, on the other side, that they might not like you. The other things that I have heard on a regular basis is, most of you all know, I know you do, that somewhere, if you have a trauma that has happened in your past that is currently unresolved, that the reason that you drink is in order to numb the high emotions that come when you think about that, sort of, when you think about those things that happened. And it's really easy to imagine that without alcohol to numb that awfulness, that you will be unable to cope with all of those emotions without alcohol to take it away. I'll come back to some of these in a second, because actually none of these are the hardest part of giving up alcohol. For me, the hardest part for you in giving up alcohol is the moments between that second that you know that it's time to give up and the moment that you stop. Now, I know for some women that can be decades of I must stop, and trying. And maybe I've worked with women who've given up for 3 years and gone back to it. And the reason I know that this is the hardest part is because as women, we are multifaceted, we're multi emotional, we're always slightly overthinking and judging ourselves incredibly harshly 24/7. So the minute that you think that you want to stop drinking, what will often follow after that is, oh, I'm such a terrible person that I do this. So there's shame and guilt. And then there is the attempts to stop. Oh my God, I'm such a failure because I can't stop. So you end up in this endless self torture of knowing you want to stop and not stopping. And honestly, that is it's like the worst kind of torture that you could ever put yourself through, because you are in a constant endless battle with yourself. And when you're in a battle with yourself, who wins? Nobody can win, because it's just you. And it's like two parts of you, the devil and the angel, if you want to call it that. Like one of you going drink and the other one going, come on, there's more to life than this. That endless back and forth, the self torture, the I'm going to stop, I can't, I'm going to stop, I can't, over and over and over again. That is so much worse than being sober. Now, I will say, if the women I work with are grey area drinkers, they're not alcoholics. But if you are thinking about stopping, you must go and speak to your doctor. They know your medical history and they know the medication that you might be taking, and they will give you the right advice about stopping. Many of you, nearly every woman I've worked with, because the drinking isn't all day long and excessive, it's just a case of stopping and maybe having 7 to 10 days of a bit of discomfort while your body expels the alcohol and you handle the sugar cravings, because sometimes that can almost be worse. Alcohol will leave your body within about 48 hours. But if you are a wine drinker, you're ingesting a huge amount of sugar every day. So your body will be detoxing from that amount of sugar as well. By the way, my advice is temporarily eat the cake, darling. It's really not that big a deal. You can sort that out later. But this endless back and forth with yourself never gets you anywhere. So you're on this constant hamster wheel of I must stop, I can't, I must stop, I can't. Now, if you can get to the day where you decide, that's it, I'm going to stop, it's really important that when you stop, you're not thinking about that you change your mind about alcohol. That's the work I do. I am not interested in encouraging you to count the days. Yes, have 30 days as a sort of an initial kind of marker, just so that you know you've done 30 days. But don't even count it. Just put a reminder in your calendar 30 days from now so that it pops up and says 30 days. I have no interest in encouraging women to hyper focus on alcohol every day, because what I want is for you to stop drinking and hyper focus on the most important person that you can focus on when you stop drinking, and that is you. When you stop and you start to focus on creating habits that make you feel like you're nurturing and loving yourself, that's when real change begins to happen. And the reason that these other things are not that big a deal is that alcohol causes anxiety. So a lot of your fears are actually being driven by the amount of alcohol that you drink. It makes you anxious. So when you stop, you'll get that kind of clear minded peacefulness that you just sort of think, all right, okay, I can handle this. And I know you can handle it because I've never met a woman who can't, because that's who we are. We're strong, we're capable, we're feisty, we're wise. We have depth of spirit and compassion that we can use to make our lives better and for the people that we love. We're not pathetic weaklings who have to have alcohol to prop us up every day. It's just a marketing scam that you just need to change your mind about. That's all. So your fears will kind of disappear. Your relationships will naturally improve without a great deal of effort from you at all. I have never met I was working with a woman recently, and we always do the coaching wheel where you score your sense of satisfaction with a particular area in your life. And one of the areas she chose was her relationship with her husband. And I said, so what's your level of satisfaction now, out of, if 0 is the worst and 10 is amazing and perfect? She at the beginning of the time that we worked together, she scored it a 1. When we were finished, we went through the exercise again. And I said, and what about your relationship with your husband? And she went, oh, it's a 9. And I said, so what have you done to make that improvement? She went, I just stopped drinking. How amazing. And I found the same thing. I've always had good relationships with my kids, but stopping drinking changed the dynamic because I became somebody that they could fully trust 100% of the time. So I was always able to jump in the car and help if I needed to. And since I stopped drinking in 2017, our relationships have just grown and thrived in a way that just makes me breathless with joy. There are a million reasons why I would stay sober, but my children are top of the list. Think family dynamics, a little bit different, but when you know in your heart and soul that it's time for you to get rid of alcohol, because honestly, it's not that big a deal, then people will accept it. You think they won't, but it doesn't matter whether they accept it or not. No relationship that you have should be dependent on the amount of liquid called alcohol that you put in your body. It literally makes no sense. And everybody's really defensive about alcohol and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody says to me about alcohol. I won't ever drink again. Not because I think alcohol's bad. I just don't care about it. And I want you to not care about it. Your relationships, because you'll feel happier in yourself, will naturally improve, and you'll have the clarity to be able to look at your relationships and say, right, what needs to be done? Your emotions, they're a biggie. And I had a childhood trauma that took me quite a long time to pluck up the courage to go and get therapy for, which I did about 18 months ago. And it was the best decision I ever made. I don't think I could have done it earlier. And since then, I have really really grown and felt a lot better in who I am. But this was one of my fears, is that I wouldn't be able to handle this overly emotional part of me that felt out of control when I thought about those things. But the thing is, when you stop drinking and you realize how good it feels and how lovely it is to be kind to yourself and to be patient with yourself and to do nice things for yourself and to change your life so that you are living in a way that lights you up, those high emotions will naturally become calmer, and you will find the headspace to go and get the support and help that you really need. And I promise you, I've seen it happen over and over and over again. I think the one thing that I would say is every woman that I've ever started working with doesn't trust that she can do it. I know you can. I know it's possible because I've seen it over and over again. In terms of this being the hardest part about giving up alcohol is just stop with the back and forth. You made the decision possibly decades ago, and what you're doing is you're pulling yourself back into the past, and with your fears about relationships and emotions and other things, you're projecting yourself into the future. Bring yourself to the present moment and just make the decision that for today you're not going to drink and you're going to focus on doing lovely things for you. That is the most important thing that you can do. I hope you found this useful. Don't fear being sober. It is the best way to live when I had 4 decades of being dragged around by alcohol, and I'm free now, and I'd love you to come and be free with me. I'll see you soon. More videos to come as well. Please like and subscribe, do that thing so that other women can find my videos, so that you're helping out your sisters, and so they can quit too. There's links in the box below. Come and join us. It's a great way to live, and there's no downsides to it, I promise. Take care.